Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Bible study. We are in Isaiah 14 today, and you can download our PDF, our outline, on our website at tobelikechrist.com. I did want to apologize for the, last couple weeks, I guess. My videos have not been as consistent or as steady as they usually are, and I know I'm uploading sometimes in the night and sometimes in the morning. Uh, some of you know that my wife and I are expecting a baby, Lord willing, in about a month. And we've just moved back to the United States, so my rhythms are all out of whack, and then we're moving stuff around in the house, and I got a bunch of appointments I didn't used to have, and so I haven't quite found that good steady work life rhythm yet. And so that's the reason. I appreciate your patience as we go through this. Let's talk about Isaiah 14. Okay, so you remember that in Isaiah 13, we kind of got into this new section where God is giving these oracles or these prophecies, these verdicts against these foreign nations that are directly or indirectly related to his people. Chapter 13 was an oracle against Babylon, and we're just picking up in basically that same oracle here at the beginning of chapter 14. So as far as when these chapters and the oracles were written, the prophecies in Isaiah 13 to 14 appear to have been written or spoken during the reign of King Ahaz, and part of it the year that he died. We'll see that in verse 28. The generally accepted dates for Ahaz's reign are 735 to 715 BC. In terms of our key characters, we have Isaiah the prophet, we have the nation of Babylon that we just mentioned. Towards the end of the chapter, we're also going to talk about the nation of Assyria, which during the early days of Isaiah's ministry was actually the world power. They were going to be punished by God as well for their sins, and the same for the nation of Philistia that we'll see at the end of the chapter. And then two words to define. The first one is Sheol in verse 9. The idea which was conveyed by the word Sheol or Hades was not properly a grave or a sepulcher, but that dark, unknown state, including the grave, which constituted the dominions of the dead. That's Albert Barnes' definition. And then once again, we have the word oracle. What exactly does that mean? It just means a divine announcement or a message from God. In this case, one that's prophetic, one that's going to happen in the future sometime. So now we get into our text, and we'll take a look at the first 23 verses first. This is going to talk about Judah being elevated above Babylon and the judgment that Babylon, and specifically its king, was going to receive. So though God would permit the Babylonians to punish Judah for their rebellion in the Babylonian captivity, which is still about 100 years out at this point, God's blessings would eventually return to his people. He promised to return them to the promised land, or the land of Israel, where roles would be reversed. The Babylonians would serve them, some as servants and some as slaves. The people of Judah would taunt the ruined Babylonian kingdom when God judged them. They would also taunt its king and its proud citizens. Judah would gloat in the fact that their captors had become the captives. And it wouldn't just be the people of Judah. The whole earth would rejoice when Babylon fell. Isaiah even describes the trees as rejoicing. He wrote, "The cypresses rejoice at you, the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since you were laid low, no woodcutters come up against us." The Babylonians did a lot of foresting to get timber for their building projects and their war machines. So trees are even happy about this, but all the other nations are too, because Babylon had oppressed many of them. So no one's going to be sad to see God bring judgment on Babylon. And just to keep our timeline in mind, Isaiah receives and speaks this oracle about 200 years before the Babylonian Empire actually falls. So this is quite an impressive prophecy, again, speaking to the inspiration of the Bible. Isaiah describes the fall of the king of Babylon. He describes the king of Babylon's descent into the grave after he's been defeated, into Sheol, where he is met by all the other proud kings of the earth who God had humbled before him throughout history. The king's downfall is also compared to a star falling from its prominent place in the heavens down to earth, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in our application section. The proud king of Babylon, who once imagined himself to be greater than God, that he was going to rise above God's throne in heaven. God had cut him down, and he had made his home with the worms and the maggots of the earth, in the dirt, in the grave. The humbled king will be nothing like the man who once reigned over the nations in power. Babylon's king would not be remembered, and his descendants would be denied significance in the history books. In section number 2, 24 through 27, we shift away from Babylon. We look at Assyria, an oracle against Assyria. So just to summarize this very quickly, God swore to put an end to the Assyrian oppression of his people, and he prophesied that he would break the Assyrians and trample them down. That would happen even sooner than the Babylonians, and he would actually use the Babylonians to do that job. So section number 3 now, 28 through 32, an oracle against the Philistines. So this oracle was given to Isaiah the year that King Ahaz died, which is about 715 BC. God warned Philistia not to gloat in the temporary weakness of Israel and Judah. They probably thought, wow, Israel and Judah has fallen. That's great news. That's good for us. But God says, don't glory in that, because a time is coming when I'm going to punish you, Philistia, as well. Okay, so now for our application. This is kind of a clarification today, but there's application in the way that we talk about Bible things and the names that we use to refer to biblical things. Have you ever heard anyone refer to Satan as Lucifer? You probably have. A lot of people think that Lucifer is just another name for Satan. That name is found only one place in the Bible. Do you know where? In the King James Version of the Bible, it's in Isaiah 14, verse 12, which reads, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" If you have the ESV or another version like I do, the Hebrew term is translated as day star instead of Lucifer. And this is the only place in the Bible where the term Lucifer appears, and only in the King James and maybe a few other translations. Now, when you know that, and you've studied the context around Isaiah 14, you might be like, oh, hold on a second. This directly refers to the king of Babylon, not specifically to Satan. And I would say that would be a keen observation. Some people believe that Isaiah was paralleling the downfall of the king of Babylon to the downfall of Satan that Jesus may be referencing in a verse like Luke 10, verse 18. But this is debated, especially since there's no direct references to Satan appearing anywhere in the surrounding context of Isaiah 14. So I think it's possible that he's paralleling it to the downfall of Satan. I'm not personally convinced. And so I don't personally use the term Lucifer to refer to Satan. Directly here it refers to the king of Babylon, and is translated differently, I think, for maybe good reason and other translations. But I just wanted to throw that out there. A lot of people don't know where that name comes from, don't know what it refers to in its direct context, and I think it's always a good thing to point out so that we can refer to biblical things accurately in our speech. Okay, so that is chapter 14. Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow to take a look at 15.